just to piggyback on your
please piggyback. I'd love that. I want to carry you around on my back. I really
just
like that.
Piggyback on that.
It's the Culinary Show. That's TS.
And that's Sasha.
And we are live on Idobi Radio in the studio, live as live can be, with all of the liveness, all the way live is another way to say it. We are. Find us everywhere. You can find us on YouTube, but like A of all. B of all, you can find us on Idobi, on the Idobi Radio app, on Idobi.com. C of all, you can find us on the socials if that's your thing. You'll find us. You'll see us there. We're there. We post. Sometimes it gets noticed. Sometimes it doesn't. By the Instagram gods. Idobi Radio is always cool, and they collab with us. So you'll see us on Idobi Radio's grid, especially when we're here, because then Instagram doesn't get mad about the smoking, because we don't smoke in the studio, because we are respectful.
We are, and we have this beautiful studio.
It's a beautiful, we love coming here, and we've always loved coming here, even from the early days of the Cool Nerd Weed Show back in 2015, 16, back in 2016.
17.
Back in 2017. But we started
early.
Yeah, we started at the end of 16.
Yes, we did.
In the garage.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you can find those episodes. I'm sure you can. They're somewhere.
They're somewhere. We'll send you a tape.
Mess. They are a mess. Those first 3 episodes are crazy.
We'll send you a digital download.
Yeah. An MP3, an encrypted MP3 of our early episodes. And we've always loved coming into the Idobi Radio studio. So thank you, Idobi, as always, for being the littiest. And go to our merch. You can find our merch, coolnerdweedshow.bigcartel.com. It's still up there. Very wonderful things and shirts and seasonal things are on that. And I think that is all of the things. I think I said all of the things.
That's it.
Thanks.
Yeah, good work. Good work, Sasha.
Thank you. Okay. I really do appreciate that. So, okay, wait. Oh, yeah, I'll play this.
We salute you, the United States of cannabis, under all 50 strains, one pre-roll, under bong.
Yeah.
The Cool Nerd Weed Show on Idobi Radio.
Okay, this is our United States of Cannabis episode, kind of. But we used to, back in the days that we were talking about, the early days, we used to start with California because legalization was pretty new when we started. So we wanted to update you on what's happening in the state in which we dwell. But now, it's been quite some time. So we've grown out of kind of giving you the updates. After a while, it was just kind of the same old story with us, and we grew, and the industry adapted and changed a little bit for the good and for the not good. And before we talk about like California specifically, I wanted to talk about like the Delta 8s of the world.
Oh yeah, the Delta 8. So the back in 2018, the Farm Bill passed.
Right.
And allowed for the commercial use of hemp.
Yes.
And then that sort of by default, anything that was hemp derived was allowed to be sold.
Right.
So
now define hemp for us. How is hemp? Just as a little refresher.
Well,
if you're just tuning in to the nerds for the first time and you're kind of curious, what's the difference
technically
between hemp and cannabis derived?
Technically, hemp, like industrial hemp, is low THC. It's like less than like 0.3 or 0.03 THC.
Yeah,
A very low amount of THC, high in CBD. We need those things to CBD products generally.
Right.
But hemp was made legal and was started. Farmers had the green light to grow hemp.
Uh-huh.
And that essentially, for better or for worse, gave the green light to produce hemp-related cannabinoids. So through with various processes. So
right. So there's no like way that these cannabinoids could be consumed without a process. Just to make that clear. If you're consuming something, it's not necessarily like synthetic, but it is something that has been isolated with a process. So it can kind of, especially if you're getting it, as we always say, from a gas station, looks like other people say that too. If you don't know your source for your cannabinoids, then you don't know really what you're getting, but it certainly was made by a process to isolate these cannabinoids.
Yeah, well, there was hemp being grown everywhere, various cultivation methods, some organic, some not so organic, some very much laden with chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Not great for human consumption.
Right. There were a few companies that we knew of personally that really did give it the old college try in multiple different states to try to do some good with this and kind of show the world what hemp or cannabis can do and show you like the science a little bit. That's what I felt like was popping off a little with these brands. The good brands, the bad brands were probably not doing it in the best way. Like you said, we're using icky things. There wasn't much regulation for this other than the hemp bill, which was just like, you do you, grow all of the hemps. And recently, this has been kind of like boiling over all of these isolated cannabinoids that you can get at your local 7-Eleven or whatever. It's been people are noticing that it makes no sense. Like there's no labeling laws, or regulation. There's no it's the Wild West in the world of isolated cannabinoids. Even in like dispensaries, like when you're getting these like isolated, it's I don't want to say man-made, but it is. It's a process. You're getting a processed product.
Some of the the only way to get some of these certain cannabinoids is through this the synthetic process of processing the industrial hemp.
Right.
And it's created like a sort of a sticky situation. I don't even know if it's a gray market. It's within the law.
It is.
In most places to sell these synthetic cannabinoids that are derived from industrial hemp.
Yeah, states are like scrambling right now to try to figure this out. And they have been for like a minute. Like Texas was kind of like on that right away. And it just probably is taking a little bit longer to figure it out. Because it does seem like, why you're coming for illegal weed or illegal hemp. But I mean, I would argue that these are definitely things that we should be careful about because they're not like traditional cannabis derived Delta 9, which appears way more in cannabis. Delta 8 does not. So you really have to dig in to get those cannabinoids, which would make them extremely expensive. So just know that when you're going and getting a 1099 Delta 8 THCA, whatever the thing is of the moment, vape, that it's probably not what you think it is, which can be unhealthy for you or anybody who gets it in the traditional market, like a minor maybe, or someone who would be consuming it not in the traditional way.
That was the other part of it, that THCA.
Yeah.
That is also synthesized through industrial hemp was another sort of loophole.
Mm-hmm.
And then we all know, maybe you don't, but we're going to tell you, that THCA, once you apply heat to it,
right,
converts to THC or Delta 9.
Yes, your traditional psychoactive effect. Now, this was the loophole for a place like Texas to get something that can provide relief or a psychoactive effect or whatever, can help your muscles. Whatever we use weed for, this was a way for a very tight state on weed to kind of like navigate around these things. And companies were like, great, we'll just legally operate hemp farms and do the damn thing. But bad actors, I guess, there's some really not great products out there, and it's really hard to keep track of. It's hard to keep track of like legal weed.
This is just to piggyback on your
please piggyback. I'd love that. I want to carry you around on my back. I really
just
like that.
Piggyback on that. The Farm Bill created such like a gray area for all of these cannabinoids that there's no regulation on their testing, and there's no regulation for them at all, period, right now. Right. They don't go through the scrutiny that legal cannabis goes through at all.
Right. Now, the issue that states are running into, like I think New Jersey is running into this, California, Gavin Newsom said, fuck it, I don't care what's going on around the country in this state. Because like New Jersey's struggling a little bit because it's true, there is the hemp law is in effect. So like for states to start shutting down or finding all of these many products that are out there and banning them, how do they enforce that? Because there is this federal law in place about hemp. So how does like polices go into these gas stations and say, take all this product off your shelves? Well, like, why? Because, you know what I mean? There's nothing in place either or. There's nothing in place to regulate this, and there's nothing in place not to. So there is a muddy bit of water that some states are walking into. California, Gavin Newsom was on one this past week about weed. Yeah. I don't know what the hell happened. Maybe he listens to the podcast, unlike Kamala Harris. But we'll get to that later. But maybe he listens to us because we were like, damn, California's so litty, and we love everything that California is doing with weed. Yay. Praise be California. And maybe he was like, you know what? I need to get tough on weed. And everything we talked about, like in the past few weeks, he was just like, put the thing down, flip it in reverse. Yeah, that's what he sounded like to me. And he seamlessly transitioning into the California news. Well, first of all, he banned the hemp products, right? Just like he did it. Emergency ban.
An emergency ban using California Governor Gavin Newsom used his governorial powers to place an emergency ban on hemp products with any detectable amounts of THC. Any amount.
Louise. Well, this is also in New Jersey too. Products that have CBD and THC, that it doesn't count. They'll still be on, they'll still be there. CBD and THC, apparently. It doesn't apply to like CBD based products.
Oh yeah. Like
I don't know.
Like topicals,
I suppose. Yes, or a tincture.
Or some tinctures.
Perhaps, but yeah, those can stay on the dispensaries. But
I mean, generally in a dispensary, those are all cannabis derived.
Exactly.
They're supposed to be.
Yes. Well, that was another thing too. In dispensaries, there was some craziness when we first went legal. Like we couldn't have like any hemp. Like remember, it was like hemp can only be sold in not dispensaries, because dispensaries were like only a place for weed. I don't know really where that went.
Because vendors were coming in, they're like, you don't have to pay tax on this. And
we were like,
I don't know.
We
it's
do
kind
have
of sticky, so
exactly.
We're going to avoid the situation.
Right. So I don't. I guess like now everything's going to be put away when it comes to like industrial hemp food, bevies, or supplements. If there's any THC, so it has to be I don't know.
It would just all of your hemp derived cannabis or your hemp derived CBD products are going to be taken off the shelf.
I
like
guess.
Immediately. I mean that affects places like Erewhon. I was in all of your natural grocery stores have CBD products in there, like CBD drinks.
What the regulations do not do. So the regulations do not ban hemp-derived CBD products with no detectable THC. So I feel like the Erewhon ones or like the Burt's Bees, whatever, those are fine.
Those are all good.
Yeah.
But
cannabis products are still Gucci. But yeah, I reckon that they're really talking about these Delta 8 vapes, THC vapes, so on and so forth. I think that's honestly what's happening is a bunch of kids are probably getting traditional market THCA or Delta 8 vapes and getting sick.
I popped into one of our local Hollywood smoke shops, and that was
Cosmos.
Right.
Shout out Cosmos.
Hollywood.
Hollywood.
And they have all of the Delta 9, Delta 8 flowers, all the gummies, all of the shrooms, everything you could possibly think of. It's kind of crazy. I was actually, the first time I walked in there, I was like, oh my God.
I would be wary of buying all of those things at a smoke shop, including shrooms. We love to see this. We love to see just, maybe the acceptance of these products in our lives. That's great. But let's all relax and just kind of know that, like, stuff you get from a smoke shop is probably not as real. No offense to smoke shops. They're good for other things. They've got selling nicotine down pat.
Your blunt wraps.
Yeah, blunt wraps.
Your backwoods.
Lighters.
Your papers.
Yeah. Everything. You want to get nicotine vapes? We say no. Just say no. But that's, you do you. Any other product that is cannabis adjacent, I say go to a dispensary. A legal one that's open in your neighborhood. Now, my fucking therapist, who's like 74, went to MedMen. It was the first time in a dispensary because I told her to get Pop and Barkley's for her fibromyalgia, and she was like, "What the fuck is with the taxes?" I was like, "Damn, even my therapist is mad about the cannabis taxes." I'm not saying that doesn't suck butts. Taxes suck butts. But in New Jersey, you're enjoying much lower taxes than we are, so you don't need to go to the Exxon and get a Delta 8 unless you're a minor. Unless you're 18 or something and you can't get into a dispensary just yet, which is not minor, but it is not legal to buy cannabis or THC products when you're that age. So I don't know, maybe you're doing something you're not supposed to do, and it's making you not feel good. I have no solution for this, other than, I guess, what Gavin Newsom and Governor Murphy and other such governors are doing and pulling these products. But what are you going to do? I mean, they were going to ban flavored nicotine vapes. That didn't happen. People still very much smoke flavored nicotine vapes.
Yeah, so they're still out there.
And flavored, like, whatever, blunt wraps and shit. Like, I would... I'm not against this.
No, they need to be regulated.
Yes.
I don't know, just tested and some sort of regulations to what's actually in there.
Right.
Also, this is a sort of a temporary slowdown in this emergency bill that I think it lasts for like 90 days. Mm-hmm. It's short term. So maybe Gavin Newsom will put another plan into place. Because this kind of, I don't know, if you're like, what if you're like actually one of the upstanding players in the industrial hemp derived cannabinoid game?
Right.
You're sourcing
you're
your
ethical,
products.
yeah.
You're ethical. You're putting the best product you can on the shelf within the law, you're
fucked.
You're kind of screwed.
And if you've like really honestly tried to build your business in the last few years, and which is difficult to do in any business, especially this one, I mean, they've done it. No, I mean, I don't know. They've done it in other states. So like Minnesota, they apparently have a lot of hemp drinks that generate a shit ton of money, and they were like, cool, great, let's start testing. Like, so they saw what was happening over there in the Minnesotan government, and they said, okay, let's get ahead of this. Let's start testing these products. Let's make probably businesses get licenses. I don't know. Maybe that makes the cost go up. I don't fucking know how economics works in that way. But I do think they took it and they said, okay, this is a thing. Let's make this right.
You got to give the people what they want.
Right.
And this is what the people want. So let's try to give the people of Minnesota a safe product.
Mm-hmm.
And they got ahead of it.
Yeah, and now the companies that were open and were mom and pop get to still operate, because now all they have to do is be honest, just like they should have been doing from the beginning. They shouldn't have a problem. If your product is clean, all you need to do is send it to a lab, which probably costs money, but hopefully they're making up for that, and put it back on the shelves, and you are great. You are good to go. So I don't know what's going to happen in these states where it's going to be banned, including here. There has to be some sort of something. You can't just say something's THC infused or whatever the fuck new thing the world is embracing at this moment.
Oh yeah, we were all talking about Delta 10s.
Yes,
like
we were.
Some cannabinoids we had never spoken about before, and how potent they were.
There's
and nobody even
thousands
knows.
of them. There's so many cannabinoids that really probably could do cool things, but some of them, we just have to understand them and not sell them to children. I don't think that's too much.
Yeah,
that's
a great plan, Sasha.
Thank you. Vote for Sasha and the Cool Nerd Weed Show. For something. Just vote for us for something. We really quickly wanted to update another California story. The Gavin Newsom cafe story.
Oh, yeah. Gavin Newsom.
So we just talked about how he was down with cafes, and what was the other thing?
It was the cafes
and the farmers market.
Farmers market.
Which is what we were really excited about. We were really excited about the farmers market thing. We just thought that was such a great way to get little like farmers, or little farmers, smaller farms, like, out there making money, making up for maybe whatever they lost when they couldn't get their cannabis license in time, whatever, I just thought it was a really great idea. It was apparently too great. So Gavin Newsom said no. Said, just kidding.
Yeah, that's a bummer. We were very excited about that potential
we were.
legislation to happen. And recently Gavin Newsom said no, all at the same time, while legalizing cannabis cafes to operate.
Well, yeah, like the money-making thing.
Yeah, that's sure. Licensing, the whole thing's going to make money for the state.
Yeah.
Tourism, the old canna tourism. But the reason...
Yeah, I mean, it's
the
not
reason
like
why he opposed...
I don't not see what he's saying. I kind of see what he's saying.
You kind of see it. It has potential to go sideways a little bit.
It does.
But,
for sure.
What
was it, Montana or something? Like a few years ago, they were like trying out. Was it Montana?
Oh, that was
North Dakota.
North Dakota.
North Dakota. My apologies. They were gonna do something similar to this before weed was even like they had no weed regulation at all, and they were like, let's just throw it out there in the like public market space.
They said it was in North Dakota. It did not pass, but it was anybody who grew cannabis could sell it. Provide it to anybody who wanted to purchase cannabis.
Yeah.
That is really, truly the ultimate free market.
For sure.
But it's, in today's society, it's full of holes.
It's full. There's we can only be good for so long, and there's always the sideways moment, and that is that it's okay. I was more like, what the heck, but it's true. The way the law or whatever or the bill was written was too broad, and it really could have gone in a way that like California is trying to go the opposite of. So fine. He said he was open to another version of the bill that has like more like law written into
it. That's always good. At least it's in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, Gavin is like, he likes weed. I think the hemp thing, I think, like, is also a good move. But you can't do what New Jersey did, because they're facing lawsuits. Like, people in New Jersey, vendors in New Jersey, are like, hey, you can't ban us.
Well, one of our old friends, Tommy Chong.
Yeah, that's a homie.
Is
that's our boy.
And his
right,
Cheech and Chong.
Yes,
they're currently.
You may have heard of
for
new
some
up and coming comedy
films from Up in Smoke.
Yeah, they had a product.
They had some
Gummies.
of their products, and they are currently suing the state. There's a lawsuit. They're working on their lawsuit against the state regarding these. Their hemp-derived products.
So, wow, it's sticky sitch, and it just is weird. I'm curious to see what will happen here in Cali, and I'm curious to see if all these... We've always said, please don't get anything that you think will mimic weed from a gas station or a supermarket. If you want to get, like, whatever, like hemp... it's like mascara that has like CBD or some shit in it. Like, fine. You want to get a popular buzzword product.
Some lotion.
Yes, please enjoy yourself. But stuff that you're smoking or eating, for God's sakes, go to a dispensary. I know the taxes are high, but one thing we can promise is there will be somebody like us there to guide you in the right way, in the clean way, and you will not be led astray, nor will you get anything sold to you if you're a young blood. You should not be getting products that have anything in them of that nature. So these things are important, and I'm curious to see how it all pans out. I don't know. Sometimes these things make a splash, and then like nothing happens, and you're like, okay, cool. So we did go through a full-ass Trump presidency, a pandemic, and also a full-ass Joe Biden. I was going to say pregnancy. Why was I going to say pregnancy?
Well, this is our baby.
Yeah, it is. This is our baby. It really, really, really is. And we love it so much. But I meant presidency. And we are entering a new era of, we don't know who, but hopefully it's Kamala Harris. Just a trigger warning. We are going to get a little politicky here. Views are our own, and you can, go get a drink of water for a couple minutes. If you don't enjoy it, come back for the final puff, because it'll be great. It's cool. We love you nonetheless. So there it is. But fingers crossed, Kamala Harris will win, because democracy needs to survive. And we gave Kamala the biz for a few years because we were bummed that we didn't see the rescheduling or the descheduling of cannabis quicker. We thought maybe it would be a little bit of a jolt to get that Safe Banking Act through. We just wanted to see a little bit more from the Vice President, Kamala Harris. As soon as she announced she was running, we were like, okay, where is it? Where is it? You gotta say it. And she did. She made it clear that that is on the agendas, and she's going to make sure she does right by weed. And then she doubled down. She and we've also talked about Trump, by the way. And Trump is doing things in Florida. You can listen to that show. You can look it up on the Googles. I don't want to give him any more of our showtime today. So go do that. It's the only time. Maybe I'll say his name a couple more times, but that's it. But Kamala said more recently. Not to us, but to somebody.
To somebody. You know what?
We have a bone.
Harris,
we have a bone.
Kamala Harris came out and said that we need to, as the first time as the VP nominee, that we need to legalize cannabis. And, they said it before, and it was kind of left off of the presidential agenda earlier when the DJT actually announced his endorsement for Florida cannabis. But Kamala has come out and said it on a podcast, a well-known, I don't know how well-known, but with some well-known NBA players.
Yeah, not us.
Not us.
We have invited her on many times. We've been clear that we would love to host Kamala Harris here at Idobi Radio. Still, invitation is still open. There's no doors closed here. So if you'd like to come and talk to the masses about your stance on weed, we'd love to have you. But she went on this podcast and
with Matt Barnes, who we may or may not have seen at Hollywood parties.
Yeah.
In Bel Air.
That's right.
In Bel Air.
Yes, we did.
And,
we did. That's right.
And Steven Jackson.
Yes, and Steven Jackson. They are former NBA players. They have been outwardly loud about how much they love weed. They love weed. They're down. And the NBA is pretty cool with weed too.
Yeah, the NBA
which is nice.
Has finally taken it off of their. They don't even test for it anymore.
No, they're
all
whatever,
NBA players just get out there and ball and smoke all the weed you want.
Yes, and performance-wise, they can do it, so they should. And so advocates, they have Kamala on, and they're like, so what's your deal? And she's like, guys, duh. I'm down. I feel like I've said that for a long time. Although we haven't really seen her outwardly speak about it, it isn't new. We do know that she's down with it. And I bet we will see. I mean, some other article that's linked here says that right away, I mean, very soon, we're going to see weed rescheduled. It's going to happen, really soon. I don't know if it's going to happen before or after the election. Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of like with Biden. We're in that lame duck presidency right now.
Poor thing.
Yeah, I know.
And we're not even in the lame duck yet.
We're not. Oh, yeah,
we have
totally
a couple months from there.
We're far from the lame duck, but he's already he's wounded.
Yeah, no, he's
for sure.
He's ready.
Biden and Congress, they're not going to get shit done until after the election.
There's a lot going on. Yeah.
So to expect a cannabis, legalization rescheduling is probably a tall order at this point.
Yeah.
But Kamala, why didn't you come on our podcast? We are the Jordan and Pippen of cannabis podcasts.
Yes, we are. We certainly are. We would have asked the hard-hitting questions, but not if she didn't want us to. I'd softball her.
We're just going to ask you about cannabis. I'm not going to ask you about...
We're going to talk about real, internationals.
The hard-hitting cannabis news.
Yeah, which honestly is a hot take. Now, she also has backed full federal decriminalization for simple drug possession. That was back when she was running for president the first time. And she wants to, she has said, put the focus back on research for the medicinal uses of weed, which is important, and that's what we want. So if you make it Schedule 3, you can still do all those things. Banking can happen, I think. And stuff like that. These are things that can happen. These are things that she has said she wants to happen. I think I was just reading a quote from Trump.
About the banking?
Yeah.
Yeah. Donald Trump's on board with the banking. It would put billions of dollars into the banking system if cannabis was actually allowed to.
And I realized it because the quote was so goddamn stupid that I was like, Kamala doesn't talk like that. there's work to be done nationally around the banking issue. Yeah, that's
that isn't
my life. But that said, Kamala does acknowledge, Vice President Harris does acknowledge that there are things to iron out when cannabis is involved. Equity, people in jail, and the banking issue are things that she has noted that she wants to work on. So, like, now we have direct quotes, direct proof that that's what her stance is.
Yeah, so all of the undecided voters out there, the cannabis issue is clear. You can go ahead and cast your vote for Kamala Harris right now.
Yes, and make sure you understand that the difference between Trump's endorsement for weed and Vice President Harris's endorsement for weed is it's very important because we will get a much broader reform under a President Harris in terms of people that you may know who are in jail for weed or who have gotten arrested for weed or so on and so forth, who can now open a business or work in the industry. We can finally find out how weed affects things like cancer or epilepsy, which we know is one of the only things that we know. So look at that. Look at that!
Yeah. Kamala Harris supports science of cannabis and social equity regarding cannabis reform. And that's really what you need to know.
And the other side, like the whole side, they don't like weed none too much. The GOP, as a general rule. And that's not us talking jazz. That's just factuals. They don't like it.
Throughout history, the GOP has been anti-cannabis and has been completely down with the war on drugs and the war on people.
And that's just a fact. Donald Trump, which is the third and only time I'll say his name, the only reason he is supporting any sort of cannabis reform is not to correct the decades-old war on drugs that has disproportionately affected people of color and people who are trying to find relief don't have safe access. This peril that we have gone through, he's not trying to correct it for any honorable or scientific reason. It is only for the monies. Now, you can say who cares if you want, but just know this industry, when it goes that way, suffers. The quality suffers. The price suffers. When you have a monopoly on something, which is what he's trying to do with weed in Florida, it suffers. You cannot have that. That is why monopolies are not right or legal in this country. So, if you can believe it, I know, right?
Again, with the fat cat bashing.
But that's just I'm just saying the things that are true, and that is, it's solely the reason why he's looking for weed to be approved in Florida. We want you to go out and vote, please. Like TS said, you know that Kamala is for an honest reform. You know we're going to get it because we already started to get it. And you know that we will hopefully have the door. Oh my gosh, I could just envision like all of the cannabis influencers, oh my gosh, they can even stay online. Maybe we won't get shadow banned anymore. Maybe there'll be more opportunities to educate through social media because we can have the word weed in our name and we're not going to get our account taken away from us. Small things like that. Big things like let's do research for cancer and more research for the heart, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. Let's do some doctor shit. Let's see how this is an antiseptic. Let's look at the cannabinoids in a way that's not going to poison our 15-year-old, 8-year-old children. That's what I see with Vice President Harris. With Donald Trump, I see state-run weed, and I see it as a way to not advance the industry, to only advance one person and one person's pockets, not you, not the person who needs safe access. Vote with your heart, but vote, no matter what, especially in these states. Did you want to talk about the states real quick before we puff? We have like 5 minutes.
Yeah, what's
just really quick?
Do you want to break down what's
I don't have
the initiatives?
Yeah. Oh, I do have the article. Yes, I do. I thought I closed it. Yes, we just want to go over what states have weed on the ballot.
We did talk about Florida extensively. Amendment 3,
Yes.
the legalization initiative, is on the ballot
Yes.
right now. Should we just skip to South Dakota because we spent so much time on Florida?
Yes. Florida, we do have a whole episode on that. It's easy to find. There's a lot that you should read and know before you cast your vote. And just know that this vote counts, but there is a way to give it a couple years and see if we can make it better. And in the meantime, enjoy your medicinal weed with freedom. That's just something that I am putting out there. So go for North Dakota. Wait, what did you say?
North Dakota.
North Dakota. I don't have the thing. It's not
I have,
populating for me. So you just
same. South Dakota. First, South Dakota.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. Yes.
South Dakota would be recreational. You could possess up to 21 and older, 2 ounces of cannabis.
Okay.
16 grams of concentrate, and almost 1,600 milligrams of edibles. Just, it's a good amount of edibles that you can buy probably in one day.
I like it.
There
How
was
about
some
equity?
things. That was that's the part I'm missing. There's a few that do not include equity.
I remember South Dakota being one of them that we were talking about. I don't see it here. I don't see it here.
Some do not include the equity, which is a bummer.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a shame. I don't see equity. If it's in the bill and somebody sees it, let us know. But we're looking at the text, and I do not see it, and I didn't see it the last time either. Just know that it's the same as it is in Florida. It's pretty important if you have something that's legal and people are suffering for it and incarcerated and don't have rights. It just doesn't math, Oh, they are.
I found it. No.
They are not. Fuck my life.
South Dakota, there is no criminal justice reform. There is no social equity.
Great.
There is no employment protection.
Cool.
And yes, there is home grow.
Okay.
Cool.
Great. Awesome. So, hold on, wait. Damn it, I had all of it. Okay. Oh, I found it. Okay, so that's South Dakota. Bummer, but with your heart again.
Let's go to North Dakota.
Okay, tell me.
In North Dakota, you can possess up to 1 ounce of cannabis, 4 grams of concentrate, and 300 milligrams of edibles. And you are allowed to grow 3 plants in North Dakota.
Okay, how about...
And all the things that we love and hate about this bill in North Dakota. Let's see. No criminal justice reform. No social equity provisions. No employment protection.
Great.
And yes, home grow.
Cool.
Okay, cool.
All right, so these bills make me sad. Who's next?
Who is next? That is a good question.
Oregon? No. No, that's a cannabis workers. Okay, gotcha.
It's a different bill.
We have South Dakota. Is this it?
Is South Dakota. We talked about Florida.
We
go back to Florida?
I don't really want to.
Okay.
If you want to, though, we have like 1 minute.
Let's just tell you the cons of Florida right now. No criminal justice reform, no social equity, no employment protection, and no home grow.
God damn it! Sorry, use the Lord's name in vain. But I just get so mad. Why? Okay, I just had to scream a little bit. I apologize for anybody's earballs. Listen, you know how we feel. Please get out and vote. We want you to have safe access. We feel horrible saying no to any sort of cannabis bill, but we, full transparency, voted no here in California because we didn't like the way it looked, and we were right. But over the years, because it was flexible and moldable, we've gotten to a place in which we feel like there is a better future, maybe. But some of these states, like Florida, it's pretty like if you vote no and it doesn't happen, you still have time to fix this. If you vote yes, it's in there.
Yeah. In Florida, Amendment 3 is a constitutional amendment. It will be very hard
to undo this.
To reverse.
But it won't be as hard to figure out a better way. A way that doesn't just benefit one resident. One big dumb resident.
And one huge Florida monopoly.
Exactly. So those are our things. That's how we feel. No matter what you feel, no matter what you want to do or what you want to happen, you have to vote. It's the only way. The Idobi Radio app has a beautiful little banner. You just click on it, vote.org, find out what your sitch is. There's always time to find out where you're registered, how you're registered, get your ballots, do your research, vote with your heart. Just vote.
The Final Puff with TS and Sasha.
Yes, the final couple minutes of the show, we will talk about something good. Something kind of good. So a few episodes back, I don't know, a while ago, we talked about something that we thought needed more research and looking at, but it was how weed and your heart interacted with each other. And like at first it was like, oh no, people who smoke weed have terrible heart issues and heart attacks all the time. And we were like, oh, that doesn't seem right. I feel like we felt like there should be more research around it, but it really was going around and it had some peeps a little bit worried. But a new study came out and can put your hearts at ease. And this is coming from what, the American?
Yeah, the American Heart Association actually had some decent things to say about cannabis and moderate cannabis use and your heart. That you're less likely to have, is it AFib? Atrial fibrillation.
Yeah, which is that's pretty common, especially with young people, which is a bummer. So this is moderate again. If you are heavy and you're doing dabs every day, probably doesn't apply to you. But a moderate user is your odds are reduced of having AFib, and also when you do go to the hospital, they found that you're less likely to die in there for some reason.
That's some good news.
Yeah, I feel great about that because I do always worry about, when you go to the hospital, they always they ask you the questions, and a lot of people who use weed are afraid. I don't worry about it. One worries about it to tell their doctor. You don't have to be afraid. Always tell your doctor if you have THC in your system. They don't care. You cannot get arrested for that if you're in a state where it's not legal. And if you've done something you shouldn't have done, always tell your doctor. They're there to care for you.
Yeah.
And this means all drugs as well.
Absolutely. In an emergency situation, they
don't lie.
Do not lie to your doctor. They definitely need to know specifically what you have ingested and what your habits are.
Yes.
So if you're having some hard issues, let your doctor know that you ingest THC in one way or another.
Yeah.
And apparently all of those who have admitted that during this process
have lived to tell a tale
and survived and have a greater chance of survival and not
getting no AFib.
Yeah.
Great.
It's great news.
So if you're worried, please put your mind a little bit at ease. Of course, there needs to be more research. We talked a lot about how that can be done, and it looks like we'll get that. It looks like maybe if Kamala is in charge, we will get all of the research or most of the research that we'd like, including stuff like this. So if there's any questions, which there are so many, we will have answers, and people will be less afraid to tell their doctors, yes, I consumed weed, and I also did this, that, and the third. Oh, maybe I drink a lot. Maybe I have more than 3 or 4 drinks per week. Does that affect your heart? You bet. You bet it does. It sure does. Now, you don't have to be a raging alcoholic to have heart problems. These are things that we know because alcohol is so extensively studied. So we can do the same thing with weed, and we can make sure that we're safely living our lives. This is great.
This is great news. Thank you,
Thank
the
you, weed.
American Heart Association and cannabis. Thank you, cannabis.
Thank you, weed. Find us everywhere. Cool Nerd Weed Show on socials. Just Google Cool Nerd Weed Show. You find us on YouTube. You find us on Idobi Radio at all times, along with other wonderful Idobi Radio goodness. The Idobi Radio app is free. You get our beautiful asses, and you do get many other asses. Not literal asses. It's not X-rated. But it is very enjoyable and free. And please vote. I beg you with my whole heart and soul. TS begs you.
Please vote, please.
Please vote. Know your rights. Know what you're voting on. And
don't panic.
it's organic.